Great. So today's main moderators for the day are Benji Soro and Waziri Nayoni. You could read their bios here on the slide. You'll be hearing their voices throughout the day to move us forward in our agenda. Just as a reminder, there's an ongoing poster digital presentations that are on the website, and I'll make sure to put the website link in the chat. And you can also find the summit agenda as well as the breakout rooms, which are really important for today as well as tomorrow. So we will share that link again so that you know where you're headed to, because you will self-select to join the appropriate room that you're interested in, whether you're one of the presenters in that room or as a participant. And then we just want to make sure everyone knows you as participants are in kind of listen only mode. So I know that there is the hand raise function, but just because we have so many people on the summit, which is so exciting to see, it's kind of hard to manage. So we won't be doing kind of live questions and answers, but we encourage you to submit your questions via the question feature. It might be at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, or it could appear at the top. It's a lot easier if you submit them via that instead of the chat, because we might lose the question in the chat, but we will make sure to respond as much as we can in typing a response to the Q&A. But we see so many of you already introducing yourselves via the chat. Please continue to do so. And also please join us on LinkedIn and Twitter via hashtag Africa SBC Summit 24. The summit sessions and presentations will all be, the recording and the presentations will be made available on the website. Please just give us a few days to get that up for everybody. They're not there right now. Right now, the agenda as well as the posters are, though. So please feel free to visit. And then if you run into any technical problems, please feel free to email us at info@as-sbc.org or send me. My name is Lisa Mwaikambo. I'm listed as Africa SBC, the host in Zoom, and I'll do my best to help. In the meantime, it's really important, whether you're an English speaker or a French speaker, to please choose a language to listen to today's presentations. We're going to have presentations in both languages. So if you can select language in the Zoom toolbar and then drop down to either English or French, whichever you're most comfortable in, you should be able to hear our interpreters. As a result of having interpretation, we'd like to remind our speakers to kind of slow down where you can. I know everyone's mindful of time. We have a really packed agenda, but to enable, the best interpretation possible, we ask that you make sure to pause so that our interpreters can keep up with everybody. I believe that is the main logistics at the moment. So I am going to turn it over to Robbie to provide opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Summit participants, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2024 Africa Social and Behavior Change Summit. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Africa Social and Behavior Change Summit, I would like to welcome you all to this very historical moment, the very first Africa Social and Behavior Change Summit. I would like to express my gratitude to the African Society for Social and Behavior Change, Board, Secretariat, as well as Summit convener and organizers for their dedicated leadership and coordination of the various country chapters across Africa organize this event. I'd also like to express our gratitude and thanks our sponsors, who are many from different countries, from different regions, for making this summit possible. But last and not least, I want to thank each one of you for taking the time to participate in this inaugural summit. We at the African Social Center, Social and Behavior Change, strongly believe that social and behavior change is essential for positive development, and this summit serves as a platform to advance this mission. To give you a brief background about this society, it was established in 2019 as a WhatsApp group. But in 2022, it was officially registered as a regional organization dedicated to strengthening the effectiveness of social behavior change in Africa. What began as an informal network of social behavior change professionals has now expanded to become active in over 19 African countries, namely South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Egypt, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Ethiopia, Zambia, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Mozambique, Rwanda, Niger, Cameroon, Ghana, Burkina Faso, and Algeria. And I'm sure after this summit, we'll have many other countries join, and we look forward to having many of you who are not yet members or who have not started chapters to join us. These countries are at different stages of maturity in building their local chapters, but with the common ambition to achieve. I hope that going forward, we'll be able to speed up and grow so that we can be more effective and active in our various chapters. Our vision is a respected community of social and behavior change professionals in Africa that inspires excellence in social behavior change for development and advances in this field globally. And our mission is to improve the lives of people in Africa by setting priorities for and strengthening the quality of social behavior change practice in Africa. We'll accomplish this through capacity strengthening, networking, knowledge sharing, and recognition of excellence among individuals and organizations working in Africa. We strongly believe that this summit, the first of many to come, will provide an opportunity to discuss new ways of approaching social behavior change in our ever-changing world. Our theme, cultivating resilience and relevance, harnessing community insights and innovation for social behavior change impact in Africa, sets a strong foundation for future social behavior change initiatives. The decision to hold a virtual summit is a testament to our commitment to innovation. We are very grateful to your presence, and we hope to inspire new ideas and collaborations. I wish all of you great learning, knowledge sharing, and networking. May the next 3 days provide a wonderful and worthwhile African experience that you all remember for a long time to come. Thank you, and may God bless you all. I would like now to hand over to the moderators to take us to the next level. Thank you.
Merci. Merci beaucoup à Roby Mouza, qui est le président du conseil d'administration de ce sommet de la Société africaine de CSC, qui vient de nous gratifier de discours d'ouverture. Et il a rappelé que le sommet africain sur le changement social et le comportement a pour objectif de servir de pilier aux efforts de collaboration en matière de changement social et de comportement à travers le continent. Et cela en rassemblant une diversité de voix et d'expertise. Et il a souhaité un bon sommet à tous et à tous dans l'esprit de partage d'expérience. Donc, à sa suite, on va inviter Dr Adebayo Fayoyin du Nigeria qui va aussi donner son discours d'ouverture. Donc, à toi, Adebayo.
Thank you, the moderator. And thanks to Robbie for the excellent introduction of the society and where we are. As co-chair of the summit, it's a great privilege for me to welcome you to this summit. Ladies and gentlemen, this is history in the making. This is the first Africa-wide summit on SBC, which includes all regions on the continent, East, West, North, Central, and the South. While we recognize that there are differences and specificities in these regions, what we know that there's a common destiny of sustainable development and change, which we're pursuing together. Secondly, this is the very first time we're having a massive gathering of experts, of partners, of professionals in the field, and at several levels to interrogate the critical SBC issues on the continent, and to collectively and together co-design a future that we have been talking about. With over 200 plus abstracts received, 2,800 plus registered participants for the conference, and 13 sponsors for this virtual summit, this is indeed monumental. And we thank everybody for the confidence reposed in us. The level of enthusiasm and interest in the summit demonstrates one particular thing: the value, the need, and the utmost significance of the kind of conversation that we're having here today. Our theme is also strategic. Robbie just mentioned it, and I know that you all know it, so I won't go into it. It is by choice, not by chance. And it is in response to some of the questions that we have been having and hearing directly or indirectly on the position and the role of SBC. Questions like, how sustainable? How relevant in an ever-changing world? Can we go beyond the traditional domain of public health where the fields seem to have emerged from? What about impact? And what about innovative solutions? Let me say loud and clear, we know SBC works, we know SBC delivers, and we know SBC transforms, and is central to the process of change. Today, with increasing knowledge on the evidence that it works, and the skills and the perspectives that we have generated in terms of co-development, it is a great opportunity for us to know that our field still works. The program for the summit responds to some of those questions, and it is designed to tell a story of the journey from the past to the present and the future. During yesterday's conversation, we heard the emerging scholars, those in the digital domain, those we might call the AI-SBC potential practitioners, and the ancient, the IEC generation. It was designed for them to connect so that we can see a transition from the past to the present. And the various presentations that we're having today and tomorrow and throughout the summit are designed to interrogate those issues of how we are together creating a new future for SBC on our continent. In Africa, we normally say, if a tree falls to the ground, does it not make a sound? Yes, when a tree falls to the ground, it does make a sound. And so the Africa SBC Summit has not fallen in a literal sense, but from a digital balance, it has been downloaded, it has been uploaded, and it is going viral across the world. Before computers, we will say it on the mountaintops. But today, we say, declare it on X, proclaim it on Google Chat, iterate it on TikTok, Live Chat, Zoom, AI, and all the other platforms that are there. But we are not stopping there. We are taking it right down to the community. And this is just the beginning. All this help us to tell the story of our journey and to the future. And this is just the beginning, or better still, the continuation of what some of the agencies that we're working with have already started. With new insights, behavioral and social, at our disposal, and skills in co-designing, co-creation, the community, having them to lead. At our beck and call, we are indeed committed to ensuring this is done. Finally, this summit is a precursor to the International SBC Summit, which will be taking place next year. It is our attempt in Africa to amplify Africa's voice, to start thinking in advance of what are some of the issues that we'll take to the summit, and to help frame the directions, the approaches that the summit will take. On that note, I welcome you to the summit. As a virtual summit, it might have some of its snags in terms of its technological challenges, but please bear with us. And also note that we have put in place a robust strategy to respond to such glitches. The society is pushing and advancing a new narrative in the field in Africa and beyond, and you are part of it. This first Africa SBC Summit is by you, with you, for you. We made it together. Thank you very much. And now hand over back to the facilitator.
Merci au docteur Adebayo qui, à la suite de Robbie, nous a donné son discours de bienvenue. Il a rappelé quelques objectifs de ce sommet et a montré que le CSC est quelque chose qui marche. Le CSC, c'est quelque chose qui a fait ses preuves et que nous pouvons encore continuer de faire entendre la voix de l'Afrique comme l'arbre qui tombe dans la forêt et qui fait du bruit. Et il a aussi dit qu'il y a beaucoup d'innovations et de technologies que nous pouvons mettre en œuvre et aussi travailler avec la communauté. Et sur ce, je vais introduire la prochaine personne qui va prendre la parole. Il s'agit de Deborah Lopez. Elle est la directrice exécutive du Centre des programmes de communication de Johns Hopkins, CCP. Et je vais lui laisser la parole pour qu'elle prenne la parole. Over to you, Deborah.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, it is so exciting to be here with all of you. Today, I invite you to embark on a collective journey where we explore one of the most compelling opportunities of our time, the demonstrated power of community insights and innovation in driving SBC at a global scale. To me, and to many of you here, this topic is not merely theoretical or about unique or isolated initiatives. Rather, it is profoundly real and practical and touches on the very essence of how and what we do shapes our societies. Like many of you here today, I believe that by embracing and further exploring the transformative power of community-driven initiatives, combined with global cooperation and inclusivity to address shared and complex challenges, we can have a better and more equitable future. By putting communities in the driver's seat, everything we create together will have greater and longer lasting resonance with people who want to see their lives improved. And who does not want that? We all know that our communities are the heartbeat of our social fabric. They are the bedrock of our societies, each unique in its culture, traditions, and challenges. They possess invaluable insights into local dynamics and cultural nuances. In the past, these insights were often overlooked or underestimated. However, there is a growing recognition that they can be used to shape successful SBC strategies, as well as influence broader systemic and policy discussions and decisions. These insights are crucial for understanding the root causes of social issues and crafting effective solutions that resonate at all levels. We have already unlocked a wealth of positive change through a greater understanding of the value of these insights, but more needs to be done. Let's imagine a world where every community, regardless of its location or circumstances, is a catalyst for innovation in SBC. This vision challenges us as it requires that we recognize and give space to all voices, community leaders, activists, educators, ordinary citizens, women, youth, and many others who daily confront and navigate the complexities of human behavior. It also requires us to elevate and value lived experience and local expertise, respect autonomy, and center meaningful and trusting relationships. In many places around the world, this is already happening. Across continents, through SBC initiatives, communities have pioneered strategies to combat diseases, promote family planning and water sanitation and hygiene, and encourage vaccination and gender equity and social inclusion. From bustling urban centers to remote rural villages, we have all witnessed these key actors and know what they have pioneered innovative approaches in SBC to tackle longstanding public health and other development challenges. And they have done so by fostering ownership and understanding within their own ranks, rather than perpetuating top-down mandates. In countries around the world, we have seen and continue to see community health workers revolutionizing maternal and child health outcomes, using evidence-based approaches to educate mothers and their families about nutrition, vaccination, and other key health practices so that the overall well-being of their children and the rest of their household is improved. Using SBC and health system strengthening approaches, facility and community health workers have found value in engaging mothers and their families with compassion and empathy. They observe firsthand the longstanding benefit in fostering trust and ownership while imparting key knowledge. Globally, we also have seen social movements transform WASH behaviors through community-led initiatives that underscore dignity and local leadership. I am reminded of a story about Liberia, where in its 100 years in existence, the people of rural Situr town never had access to clean, drinkable water for hydration, washing, or cooking. Instead, community members were first to travel into the forest to source water from creeks and rivers, a journey that increased the risk of diarrhea and other waterborne illnesses. Recognizing this need, the town and our team worked together to brainstorm ways to get a water pump built and maintained for its 2,000 residents. Community members understood that they did not have to wait for external support. Instead, they knew that they could advocate for themselves and leverage the resources, networks, and connections they already had. The community worked together to take up a collection of money from people who no longer lived in the town and successfully raised the funds needed to build the pump. Alongside the town, we promoted the many benefits of clean water, built a case for using the pump, and set up a maintenance schedule so every person in the community could understand how to take care of this resource. In Nigeria, using a human-centered design approach, local partner organizations and other key actors work together to develop and implement a program that focus on educating everyone, and not just medical personnel, on how to identify coughs that could be tuberculosis. The program's success included a dramatic increase in the number of people identified and treated for the deadly disease. Across Francophone West Africa, young people often face many challenges in finding relevant and credible family planning reproductive health information. To address these challenges, young people from 9 countries led us in developing a chatbot that could sort out questionable materials from dubious sources and put what they needed at their fingertips. And around the globe, health officials and program planners from national malaria control programs and other stakeholders are using malaria behavior survey dashboards to find all the data they need to customize malaria prevention programs that fit the needs of their people. There are so many other examples, each illustrating a broader truth. Sustainable change emerges when communities take ownership of their own destinies. As global citizens, it is our responsibility to leverage strengths, existing assets and aspirations, work collaboratively as we collectively practice an iterative process that will take time, amplify local leadership, and pause, reflect, and evaluate often. We also can support in other ways through financial investments, co-created frameworks that empower local solutions, coaching, mentoring, and platforms for sharing best practices. In many ways, promoting healthy behaviors and sharing best practices is easier than it used to be. There was a time where we could only imagine a virtual ecosystem where community leaders from remote villages in one country could communicate and share experiences, insights, and innovations with their counterparts in urban centers or even in another country in real time. Today, this is a reality. For example, in Guatemala, local governments are already using a broad health-related dashboard based on national and municipal level data to drive their own health decisions on everything from family planning to WASH to nutrition and education. This dashboard would soon be turned over to the national government to ensure sustainability, allowing community leaders to easily pinpoint any number of pressing health problems, including high rates of stunting, and taking steps towards solving them for years to come. The emergence of innovative technologies and digital platforms has further amplified the potential of community-driven initiatives and increased the democratization of information and connectivity, offering unprecedented opportunities for collaboration and knowledge exchange. For example, social media and online networks like Springboard, the Compass for SBC, and the SBC Learning Central enable communities to mobilize like never before, sharing ideas, resources, and best practices across borders and time zones. This interconnectedness has helped to foster an ecosystem of learning and collaboration where a solution developed in one place, in one community, can inspire change halfway around the world. There is also the role of digital storytelling in shaping attitudes and behaviors. From viral campaigns to community-driven documentaries, storytelling has become a powerful tool for raising awareness and galvanizing action onto health and development issues, ranging from malaria and other vector-borne diseases to a pandemic like COVID-19, to gender equity and social inclusion, to human rights and climate action. By giving voice to diverse experiences and perspectives, digital platforms push communities to challenge stereotypes, confront injustice, and advocate for meaningful change. It also has helped shift power back to where it belongs, at home. One of my favorite examples of the power of digital storytelling is in Nigeria, where millions of Nigerians were already listening to the Albishirin coup and the Adventures of Wazobia radio dramas. Now they can jump right into those emotional and personal stories of maternal and child health, nutrition, and infectious diseases. New interactive and low-tech games allow people to call a toll-free number and help the characters make the right decisions. Positive choices are reinforced by earning them a point, while negative choices may lead to a quick end of the game. Technical innovations such as mobile apps and data analytics also are revolutionizing how we monitor and evaluate social impact. For example, Mobile learning platforms are expanding access to quality healthcare in underserved communities, bridging the digital divide, and equipping community health workers and other key actors with the necessary knowledge and skills to help them and their fellow community members and neighbors. These innovations enhance efficiency. They also enable communities to track progress, adapt strategies, and scale successful interventions more successfully. And we are just at the beginning of this part of the journey. Despite these advancements, the journey towards harnessing community insights and innovation for SBC is not without its challenges. We still need to confront ingrained biases, structural and systemic inequalities, limited access to resources, and the inertias of established norms that we know can hinder progress and perpetuate systemic injustices. We also need to make sure that we do not backslide into our past habits and perceptions and undo our own progress. We must take risks, let go of perfection, whatever that means, and be patient and flexible. To continue to truly harness the power of communities, we must confront these barriers with humility, empathy, resilience, and a commitment to inclusivity and diversity. Inclusivity in particular lies at the heart of sustainable change and true progress. We must listen before we speak, learn before we lead, and recognize that the most transformative solutions often emerge from unexpected corners. As many of us know, by centering the perspective of communities in the decision-making process and ensuring diversity and representation and participation, we enrich everyone's understanding of complex issues, including our own, and as well as cultivate a sense of collective ownership and responsibility so that no one is left behind. Building partnerships and fostering collaboration also are essential for scaling community-driven solutions. Governments, civil society organizations, academia, and the private sector all have a role to play in creating enabling environments that support innovation and amplify local voices. By forging meaningful partnerships based on mutual respect and shared goals, we can leverage collective expertise and resources to address global challenges more effectively. As we look to the future, the imperative to continue harnessing community insights and innovations in SBC has never been clearer. The COVID-19 pandemic starkly demonstrated the resilience and the creativity of communities in responding to unprecedented challenges, from community-level networks to innovative public health campaigns. Now is the time to recommit and build on these lessons and continue to catalyze a global movement towards sustainable development and social justice. This requires bold leadership, visionary thinking, and a steadfast commitment to communities as their own leaders and agents of change. It requires investments in health, education, social infrastructure that prioritize equity and inclusion. It also requires a renewed sense of solidarity and shared responsibility to build a more just and sustainable world for future generations. It begins with each one of us, whether we are a funder, a practitioner, a community member, or another actor. As I close, I urge each of us to reconsider and consider your role in this global endeavor. What are you doing to harness community insights and innovations for SBC? Whether as a decision maker, a manager shaping programs and frameworks, a private sector actor investing in community innovation and insights, an academic preparing the next generation, or a citizen advocating for justice and equality, our actions matter. We each have the power to make a difference. Together, let us seize this moment to amplify community voices around the world, celebrate their resilience and creativity, and work together toward a future where every individual can thrive. Together, we can build a more inclusive, equitable, and sustainable world. Thank you. Thank you to the African Society for holding this event And thank you to all of you for taking time to participate in this very important conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Merci beaucoup à Deborah. Comme vous venez de l'entendre, c'est la directrice exécutive de CCP qui vient de nous donner son discours sur le changement social et de comportement. Elle a fait une large overview du SBC. Elle a montré comment est-ce que ça marche dans différents pays. Elle a aussi parlé des différents acteurs qui font marcher le changement social et de comportement. Elle a parlé des experts en CSC, mais aussi des chercheurs, des universitaires et aussi des agents de santé communautaire qui œuvrent chaque jour pour sauver les vies des populations des maladies mortelles. Elle a donné des exemples de différents pays comme le Libéria, le Nigeria, Guatemala, où certaines innovations ont permis de sauver des vies et de faire avancer le domaine du SPC. Elle a insisté que c'est un domaine qui est vraiment porteur. Elle a aussi dit que certes, le SPC donne des résultats probants, mais il y a aussi beaucoup de défis dans le domaine. Et elle a cité un certain nombre de défis que nous connaissons tous, dont l'accessibilité et les ressources financières et tout ça. Elle a aussi terminé par dire que tous autant que nous sommes, que nous soyons universitaires, que nous soyons experts en SPC, que nous soyons de la communauté, que nous soyons des praticiens, nous pouvons jouer un rôle important dans cet exercice de navigation de la complexité du comportement humain. Et elle a dit que chacun doit reconsidérer sa position en sachant qu'il a le pouvoir de faire la différence et que nous devons célébrer aussi la résilience des populations et notre résilience à faire face aux différentes difficultés qui minent notre action sur le terrain du changement social et de comportement. Donc, après cette intervention riche d'enseignement de Deborah, nous allons passer à la session suivante, qui est donc la vitrine culturelle. Et cette vitrine culturelle, vous allez le voir, c'est une compilation de vidéos qui va présenter des choses qui marchent bien dans certains pays. Donc, soyez attentifs et suivez bien ce qui va se passer. À vous, secrétariat.
One moment, please. A little technical difficulty. I'll give you a song to listen to as we try to figure this out.
Lorsque ce monde me proposait à 17 ans le sexe, toi mère, tu as su me tirer de ce vortex. Me décrocher de toi, j'ai jamais osé. Dame, sans laquelle par les flammes du drame, je serais consumé. Maman, j'étais si innocent, je te dis n'aime son rafin.
Merci mon héros. let's go lo daba. Shibiram she. You very cool book. Pussy young a pay. So battle lo manga me. Yo. Ole bala. I put balera. Pumping solo. Balte gala. Waitalo salama. Bakalama. Bakalama. Wait alaba. Ole bala. I put balera. Pumping solo. Balte gala. Wait alo salama. Bakalama.
She done do me right, oh. But she just spent my money, oh. What am I gonna tell my mommy, oh? I should've listened before. She done do me like Antenna. She just controlling my phone. She done do me like Antenna. I don't get perception no more. She done do me like Antenna. She done chew my mango solo. She done do me like Antenna.
One time, two time. Asunto, yeah, you're ready, I'm ready.
She wanna chop my pee, do I look like square? I mean, do you really care? Cause what's yours she keep, you don't really share. I see how you moving there, you better just stay in line. All I wanna do is just make you mine. You make my heart beat like playing grime. Now you won't leave.
ሰው አብሮነ ሲለካ ልኩ እንደ ሶስ ያውቀው ባራዳው ተመካ ለነኩት ሰዓት ለሚወዱት እናት ሰውን ከሰው አይመርጥ ለአገር ጎሳው ሲሰጥ ከዳር እስከ ዳር መግባቢያ አንዳንዴ ቋንቋ ጸባይ መቶቹ አራዶቹ ናፋቁን ባንዲራ ሸገር ሸገር ያራዶቹ አገር ከሸገር
Wanye waist, wanga shalamana, osalubana, chela musana, raise it up, demama, demama.
I came mama sare dry fry na kupigana bila munda vidole mbili weka pisa hizo zingine weka inside. You know I pull up like a G. Shorty ameweza, she's a free. Hakunanga kitu ya free. Nagusa nionekane real. You know they love me for the life. Nite Illuminati kumbe life. Unasema ni bangi kumbe life. Top team in the big propeller. I got big image kwa dara.
Assalamu alaikum. ¿Cómo estás, amigo? Namaste. ¿Cómo ça va? ¿Cómo ça va? ¿Cómo ça va? ¿Cómo ça va? Aya ça va. 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 ¿Cómo ça va?
Now which kind life where I never see? I carry God so I fear nothing. Steady increase in the commas. Comma. Original no be parody. You know fit clear for your memory. Whether now winter or summer. I did Papa just savannah. Living life. See my fire burning bright within the inside me. Smally way they mighty. They never know I can.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Thank you for attending our panel discussion today, Getting to Sustainability, Launching the Blueprint for More Sustainable Social and Behavior Change Systems. We're excited to finally share the SBC Blueprint with this group. We have an incredible lineup of panelists who were engaged in the development of the SBC Blueprint. And today we'll share how the SBC Blueprint speaks to their experience and hopes for more sustainable SBC systems in the future. Before we start the panel discussion today, we're going to play a short video introducing the SBC Blueprint. Rose, can you play the video, please? Rose, I don't hear the sound.
You might need to reshare your screen to enable the sound, Rose.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oops, sorry. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes, we're seeing your screen, but
Just no audio. You might need to stop sharing and then reshare. And when you reshare via Zoom, you have to optimize there's like a check on the bottom to optimize the audio.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm not seeing share now.
Social and Behavior Change, SBC. SBC interventions have helped
Oh, it was working, Rose, and then just
to
stopped.
save millions of lives globally, but challenges such as emerging diseases, conflict, poverty, climate change, and other inequities pose a threat to our progress. But SBC capacity and system strengthening alongside other programming can help countries effectively respond to these challenges. Investments to date, however, have mostly focused on individual capacity strengthening needs instead of the systems that govern SBC programming. This isn't helping countries or communities in the long term in tackling these big issues. We knew we couldn't tackle this mammoth challenge alone, so we set out to spark a global conversation. And guess what? You joined in. Together, we've crafted a new vision, a blueprint for more sustainable SBC systems. The SBC Blueprint is a guide for governments, donors, SBC implementers, researchers, and others to understand and strengthen SBC systems at the country level. Our goal: sustainable, country-led SBC systems where communities are empowered to embrace healthy behaviors and positive change. What can you do to join in the movement towards greater SBC sustainability? Visit or email us to be part of the conversation and the solution.
Thank you, Rose. I hope everyone enjoyed the video and is excited to learn more about the SBC Blueprint. Before I introduce the panelists, please note that we have a poll question on the slide. We will be using Mentimeter today in this session, so please use the code on the slide or the QR code to let us know where you're coming from today. Where are you sitting? We suggest you keep the Mentimeter open, as we will be asking a series of questions today, and the link will provide you access to these questions and move you automatically through them. My name is Emily Bach, and I'm honored to be your facilitator for today's discussion. I'm a senior technical advisor with our SBC division at FHI 360, focusing on capacity and institutional strengthening for SBC. Our panelists today are Kara Tereski, a seasoned leader in SBC with nearly 25 years of global health experience and is the director of the SBC division at FHI 360. Delilah Takawera has vast experience in SBC program design, research, implementation, and monitoring, and working with stakeholders across sectors. She is a technical advisor for the SBC project and Tukunda project in Zimbabwe. Our next presenter, Nicola Christofides, co-led the development of the inaugural African-based postgraduate training for SBCC in 2009. At the University of Witwatersrand's School of Public Health, where she is an associate professor. Amelia Anusin is a seasoned specialist with a background in development communication, social marketing, and media. Amelia currently serves as the media development and private sector engagement specialist on USAID Ghana's Accelerating Social and Behavior Change activity. Dr. Richard Kambanda is a public health specialist leading Uganda's health promotion and disease prevention efforts as head of the Department of Health Promotion, Education, and Health Communication at the Ministry of Health. And last but not least, Ms. Ladidi Bako Ayagbusi is a public health practitioner and a career civil servant. She is the director and head of the nutrition department at the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare in Nigeria. And previously, she was the head of the health promotion department. Next slide. Before we dive into today's session, I wanted to give you a quick overview of what we will be covering. Many of you might already be familiar with the development of the SBC Blueprint, and some of you have even contributed to its creation and review. But to make sure everyone is on the same page, I'll provide a brief introduction to the SBC Blueprint. Afterwards, our initial group of panelists will discuss why the SBC Blueprint, sharing our vision for it and emphasizing the need to look at things through a systems lens and strengthen our connections with sectors outside of health. After they have shared their insights, we'll have some time for questions. Please type your questions into the Q&A section of Zoom, and we'll try to answer as many as possible during the session. But for those we can't answer live, we'll respond to them in the Q&A section afterwards. Next, the second group of panelists will talk about how the SBC Blueprint can support effective capacity and institutional strengthening. And finally, the last set of panelists will share their hopes for applying the SBC Blueprint, moving it from theory to practice in the countries we work in. We'll wrap up the panel with a preview of the next steps and hopefully inspire all of you to join us and continue working with it to advance the SBC Blueprint. Now let's review the blueprint before we have our panelists speak. Next slide, Rose. The SBC Blueprint is made for those who lead, fund, or support SBC initiatives at the country level. This document is a framework for countries and local actors to use their insights and specialized knowledge to discuss, analyze, and develop country-specific SBC blueprints. To help with this, the document provides guidance and tools, case examples for inspiration, minimum benchmarks, and planning tools. We hope this document and the accompanying tools will support global and national priority setting for SBC and system strengthening, and also be used as an advocacy tool to promote increased SBC prioritization and investments in capacity and institutional strengthening. Next slide, please. The primary objectives of the SBC Blueprint are to challenge the global SBC field to think critically about the systems that govern SBC initiatives, aiming for greater quality, impact, and sustainability. To create a shared vision for sustainability within the field that adopts a more holistic approach to SBC. To advocate for more increased resource allocation, prioritization, and investment in SBC systems. And to propose a foundation to guide the achievement of these objectives I just mentioned, fostering dialogue to realize institutional and technical capacity improvements. Next slide, please. Over the past year and a half, we hopefully have led an engaging process to develop the SBC Blueprint. First and foremost, I want to thank the SBC community and everyone here that was involved in the listening sessions, online polls, and in-person events. Your input has been invaluable. In addition to everyone who contributed to developing the SBC Blueprint, I want to extend my gratitude to the technical reviewers, including global SBC implementers, donors, and other SBC actors. And a special thank you goes to the guiding committee who have been with us from the start. They facilitated and engaged discussions and informed and developed components of this SBC Blueprint that we're sharing with you. The guiding committee includes representatives from the African Society for Social and Behavior Change, our hosts today, the Nigeria Health Promotion Division of the Federal Ministry of Health, University of Witwatersrand School of Public Health, and FHI 360. Many of the guiding committee members are on the panel today, but for those who aren't, I would like to give a special acknowledgement to these members. Kenneth Malundo from ASSBC, Ms. Chinyere Ogbonna from the Nigeria Health Promotion Department, Desda Kebede from FHI 360 Ethiopia, and Rose Wilder from FHI 360. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to the SBC Blueprint and supported us to get to where we are today. Next slide, please. As mentioned today, we're excited to share this SBC Blueprint with you. To provide an overview of the document itself, the SBC Blueprint is divided into 4 sections. The first section looks ahead at the future and our hopes for a more sustainable SBC system. It sets out a vision and introduces a new theory of change to achieve this. This part of the SBC blueprint is about mapping out the future. We start with the future so that we can imagine possibilities beyond the constraints of our current situation. Once we've developed our vision, we take a step back and look at the present SBC system that we work in, the actors involved, how SBC systems can be set up, their structures, and connections with other sectors. This helps us be practical and thoughtful about where we are now. Once we know where we are, the present, the third section of the SBC blueprint focuses on how we can advance and strengthen the present, strengthen our system to achieve the vision we set forth in the future. The section supports the review of attributes and functions of a sustainable SBC system and competencies needed to support it. The section ensures that every step we take and plan is purposeful and aligned with our vision. The final section of the SBC blueprint covers the monitoring, evaluation, research, and learning needs for sustainable SBC systems. The section includes some illustrative SBC system strengthening indicators and sets out some learning agenda questions. Each section of the SBC blueprint comes with an accompanying tools, which we'll discuss later in today's discussion session. Next slide, please. So why the SBC blueprint? As mentioned in the video, SBC interventions have significantly contributed to lowering global maternal and child mortality rates and fighting infectious diseases and other health challenges. However, there's still a lot more that we can do. The blueprint stemmed from a dialogue on where we asked what is working, what is not working, and what would it take for an SBC system to be strong and self-sustaining. Our first speaker, Kara Tereski, will share what we heard in our engagement and how we've responded to it in the SBC blueprint. As she is speaking, please think about the question, what challenges do you think the SBC blueprint can address in your SBC system? And answer it in the Mentimeter. Kara, over to you.
Thanks
Next
so much,
slide.
Emily. Can you hear me? I'm assuming
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, excellent. It's great to be here with everyone today. I really appreciate the introduction and the opportunity to share more about the blueprint. So we're here to discuss a topic that's of importance to all of us. As a field, as Emily said, we really need to think critically about how we strengthen our approaches to address persistent health challenges that are so common across much of our SBC work. And we need to better support countries through strengthened health systems that are strong and resilient and that are able to address new and emerging challenges. And the reason why this is so important is that SBC is often neglected as part of health system strengthening efforts, where we believe it is a critical component of the health system that needs to be amplified to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow. There is an opportunity for all of us to elevate the importance of SBC in line with health system strengthening and the global focus right now that is being placed on strengthening primary healthcare systems. So we believe this is a critical time to act. As part of our SBC blueprint engagement processes that Emily mentioned, we really wanted to understand the challenges that countries faced in sustaining the delivery of SBC programs and towards country ownership and leadership of SBC, and to brainstorm with the SBC community, many of you all today on the line, ways to address these through capacity and system strengthening approaches. So in these conversations, several key themes emerge, and I think they'll be familiar to many of you. Time and time again, we heard from the SBC community that there's an overemphasis really at country level on health promotion or communication-only approaches, rather than the use of more holistic SBC strategies that can address the complex needs that we're tackling. But there's too heavy an emphasis on individual level drivers of change rather than social and structural determinants. Inadequate community engagement and integration of behavioral insights and evidence into SBC programs and policy. And that there's still a lack of effective coordination and collaboration among both health sector actors as well as across sectors. And there's an overall underappreciation and continued inadequate funding for SBC relative to other health sector investments. We also heard the community's frustration that despite these significant investments in SBC capacity strengthening to date, many SBC technical and organizational capacities still remain uneven. So to address these challenges, we really believe that we need a systems-based approach, one that takes into consideration planning, budgeting, financing of SBC programs, technical and management competencies, policy advocacy, as well as an approach that advances a more holistic SBC strategy, moving from health promotion to a broader, wider lens for SBC. and in doing so, engaging a wider set of actors, including those outside of the health sector, and using a range of different SBC programming strategies. So with this all in mind, we developed the SBC Blueprint. Our hope today is that the Blueprint can guide SBC professionals in designing more robust capacity and system strengthening strategies that enable quality SBC programming to be sustained at country level over time. So ultimately, our vision, as you can see on the screen in launching the Blueprint today, is for sustainable country-led SBC systems that can oversee the design, implementation, and evaluation of SBC initiatives that have the ability to empower individuals, families, and communities to adopt and maintain healthy behaviors while also driving positive social change and development. Next slide, Rose.
Can I just interrupt real quick? I'm sorry, the interpreters are having a hard time keeping up with you. Can you please slow down your pace some?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm a fast talker. So for the Blueprint, we defined the SBC system to be comprised of a network of actors, including government, civil society, the private sector, academics, individuals, and communities that all work together to promote healthy behaviors and improved health outcomes. We're defining sustainable systems as those that are resilient, adaptive, self-sustaining in terms of their structures and their practices, and that are able to deliver impactful quality SBC programs that meet communities' needs. Towards achieving this for SBC, we've defined 3 key pillars that the Blueprint hopes to help country actors focus on and strengthen. These include SBC technical capacities, government, civil society, and community level structures for social and behavior change, and collaboration and shared programming objectives among health and other actors that are necessary to address those factors that we talked about at individual, social, and structural level. So by focusing on capacity and system strengthening activities for SBC on these 3 pillars, we think we can address some of the technical and systemic challenges that I just discussed that came out of the listening sessions. We can go to the next slide, please. And so the Blueprint proposes a framework or a theory of change for SBC capacity and system strengthening to achieve outcomes related to these pillars. So we've included a list of illustrative outcomes and intermediary outcomes that you can see on the slide and in the document that countries may wish to prioritize, as well as a list of potential activities that could be carried out to achieve these outcomes. So just to give one example, to achieve an objective of strengthened and resource structures for the oversight of SBC programming, SBC system actors at a country level may wish to focus their efforts on trying to ensure dedicated and adequate SBC funding through domestic resource and other resource mobilization strategies, ensuring qualified and sufficient SBC staffing, or strengthening infrastructure systems and policies. So overall, our hope is that governments, donors, SBC practitioners, and other actors will adopt the Blueprint as a first deliberate step towards achieving these outcomes. And in doing so, that this will infuse greater sustainability into the SBC field in ways that are country owned and led. Thank you. Emily, back to you.
Thank you, Kara. Sorry, I had problems unmuting a little bit. Thank you for sharing just our thought process, what we heard, and how we hope the SBC Blueprint can really address the challenges. If people can see the Mentimeter, I know Rose is dropping images of it in the chat. I think there is agreement and alignment around some of the challenges that we really face, focusing on sustainability, resourcing for SBC, engagement, and inclusion. And also I see a nice transition to our next speaker, Delilah, just the challenge of strengthening our connections and collaboration with outside of the health sector, where SBC has really found its footing, but beyond the health sector, how does SBC support their objectives, but how do their objectives support our own? One of the main tenets of the SBC Blueprint is the need for this increased connection. Our next panelist, Delilah Takawira, will share her thoughts on how the SBC advocates and addresses the need for strengthened, increased intersectoral collaborations. This is something she does every day with her work on the Takunda project. And as with the previous Mentimeter question, we've advanced it to the next one, please. As Delilah speaks, as an SBC practitioner, think about how would you rate your interaction with non-health actors in your SBC system? Delilah, over to you.
Thank you, Emily. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, and due to bandwidth, I don't think I'm going to keep my camera on, so please allow me to switch it off so I remain audible. So yes, certainly we can't talk of systems thinking without talking of collaboration. Engaging other sectors in social and behavior change is not only a good thing to do, but essential and for many reasons. So firstly, because behavioral determinants are both multifaceted and interdisciplinary, requiring both systems and SBC actor level changes related to collaboration, planning, financing, and management. Secondly, it helps to ensure demand-side interventions are aligned with supply-side strengthening. And the third reason is that multi-sectoral collaboration also enables more robust SBC strategies that can address the wide range of individual, interpersonal, social, and structural factors that impede or facilitate healthy behaviors. And lastly, engaging other sectors enables sustainable systems and, more importantly, greater sustainability of SBC outcomes that are delivered by the system. Now, as way of example, and as Emily has mentioned, I work in Zimbabwe and I work in a USAID-funded resilience and food security activity called Takunda. And amongst the other things that we're trying to promote is to improve nutrition and health of women and children. And looking at children ages 6 months up to 2 years consuming a diversified diet. Social and behavior change formative research conducted at the start of the project showed that one of the major barriers to children consuming healthy, diversified diets was access to the food itself in households. Now, to be able to achieve our project outcomes, we could not use interpersonal communication or other behavior change promotion methodologies alone without addressing the physical access of food in households. So because of that, we roped in our colleagues in the agriculture sector to provide the necessary food through various activities, promoting climate smart agriculture, establishing community gardens that are irrigated through solar powered boreholes, promoting livestock production, particularly small livestock production. And together with that, we also went in even to develop other food products like an enriched flour blend. And we even went on to partner with private sector to scale up production, marketing, and to ensure sustainability of household access to the food that children need to eat to be healthy and to be well nourished. In fact, speaking of the private sector engagement, you can join us in a panel discussion tomorrow, starting at 6:25 East African time to learn more about that. Now, to strengthen connectedness across sectors, the SBC Blueprint recommends a number of ways. And the first one is strengthening policy frameworks. Policy frameworks that emphasize intra and intersectoral collaboration, clearly defining roles, responsibilities, and coordination mechanisms among pertinent sectors help to ensure strategic allocation of resources for social and behavior change. A second way is establishing intra and intersectoral committees or task forces. These help to serve as spaces for sharing best practices, resolving conflicts, and strategy alignment. I know, for example, in Zimbabwe, we do have what are called multi-sectoral food and nutrition security committees. Those can actually serve as platforms where social and behavior change can be integrated. A third way is promoting shared funding mechanisms, such as equity funds, which foster coordinated efforts among health units and sectors to achieve risk pooling objectives. Institutionalizing pooling enhances cost effectiveness by reducing duplications and fragmentation. Another way is encouraging knowledge exchange and capacity strengthening. These knowledge exchange platforms or training programs and workshops that bring people together, professionals from diverse health units and sectors, can help to enhance understanding and strengthen capacity for collaborative approaches. This allows for the exchange of expertise, lessons learned, and best practices. Another way is contributing to shared indicators. So shared indicators for priority areas can help align goals across units or actors, facilitate communication and shared action, improve accountability, and increase impacts. And finally, engaging civil society and communities. So actively involving civil society organizations, community representatives, community platforms, and other stakeholders fosters grassroots participation and ensures that interventions are community driven. Thanks, Emily, and back to you.
Thank you, Delilah, for your thoughts. And it's if people can see the Mentimeter, Rose has dropped an image of it in the chat, that how overall we rate our collaborations outside of the health sector as good, not the best, but if we look at this scale, a lot are below the average of 6, but some are above. So hopefully we have hopes that the SBC blueprint can make the next time we ask this question maybe a little higher. But also, I'll put my video on, apologies. But also we'll talk a little bit later about some tools that a tool that we have that can support to really diagnose and think about our interactions and collaborations outside of the health sector. And you'll see a preview of it in the screen that is on the slide right now. I know we're running a little bit behind, but I do want to ask one question to the panelists. And Kara, this is something that a question for you. You mentioned that the SBC blueprint provides a new theory of change. Can you just briefly talk about how this is different from how we usually view SBC capacity institutional strengthening and our SBC initiatives overall? How is it new and how is it different?
Sure. Thanks so much, Emily. So as you said, the theory of change that we put forward in this document is really a specific theory of change for capacity and system strengthening, with the ultimate goal of achieving sustained, resilient, and adaptive systems that can deliver those high quality, high impact SBC interventions that we all hope to deliver within our work. The blueprint provides illustrative benchmarks and indicators in the guide that can be used by countries to measure their progress in achieving this goal, aligned with that theory of change. And so I think this is that's something a little bit different in terms of integrating the M&E aspect and the ability to measure improvements over time. The approach that we're taking builds upon significant other previous investments in SBC capacity strengthening and really doesn't seek to duplicate all of the great resources and tools that are out there already in terms of technical skills building and other areas, but really to fill gaps and get us to start thinking critically about the systems and the 3 pillars that I talked about in my presentation. And so I think it really builds upon those previous investments, but where it differs is that it systematically outlines pathways to strengthen not only the technical capacities, but places much greater emphasis on the structures that govern SBC. And again, the emphasis that Delilah just talked about on how SBC actors engage not only with other health sector actors, but non-health sector actors to move from what traditionally has been a more health promotion focused lens to a broader social and behavior change viewpoint. And then lastly, the SBC blueprint places greater emphasis on SBC financing and professionalization and uses a local systems lens, really recognizing that not every actor in the system needs to perform the same function. But together, all of the functions required for the system to operate effectively for SBC need to be accounted for and performing well together. And one of our other panelists will talk about some of the functions of the system later. So I'll end there. Thank you.
Thanks, Kara. I think that answers the questions that we had in the Q&A. If we haven't answered, we will go through and type in answers for any that are remaining or that come up. But just for time, we are going to move to the next section, which is around supporting effective capacity institutional strengthening. Now that we know a bit more about why the blueprint and what we envision for the SBC blueprint, one thing that really stood out from our listening sessions and our dialogues and our discussions that we've had over the past year and a half is the need for more effective capacity institutional strengthening. As Kara mentioned, the SBC blueprint builds on and operationalizes decades of investments to strengthen SBC system and capacity. And despite this, often capacity strengthening initiatives are really fragmented and don't have the impact that we hope for. In the recent years, we've taken a broader system strengthening lens to address capacity and system level needs for SBC. And as Kara mentioned and Delilah mentioned, we really look to integrate SBC incorporate a systems perspective into SBC capacity strengthening within health and also beyond health. I would like to now hand it over to Nicola Christofides to share with us her thoughts on how the SBC blueprint can support capacity strengthening for SBC and what existing gaps can be strengthened and how. Nicola?
Great. Thanks, Emily. And I'm very happy to be joining from Johannesburg in South Africa. So those of us who have joined the summit are SBC leaders, managers, and implementers who are working in government or in civil society, and we all have diverse backgrounds. Some of us are trained as clinicians or in public and environmental health or health promotion, while others come from the social sciences, including social work, psychology, and many others, or have backgrounds in humanities, such as theatre, journalism, media, and communication. And each of these backgrounds brings many strengths to our SBC system. But there may also be particular capacity gaps that exist within institutions in areas such as budgeting or monitoring and evaluation, or translating evidence into programming. So the blueprint outlines the attributes and functions of successful systems and has tools to assist governments and civil society to assess what strengths exist in terms of capacity and where the gaps are. And some of these tools include a tool that looks at the attributes and functions of the SBC system. And attributes in this context are defined as characteristics or qualities that describe the nature, culture, and capabilities of the system. And it's possible for a country to be on a continuum from a nascent, from having being nascent in these attributes, or having these attributes be fully present within their system. Functions in the context of the blueprint include specific activities, tasks, or roles that are carried out within SBC systems to achieve its objectives. And there are some easy-to-use tools that accompany the blueprint, which allow institutions, organizations to collectively assess their organizational capacity and also where the gaps are. So it takes users through a prioritization process to decide on what actions need to be taken to address capacity gaps. The organizational capacity assessments can also form a baseline and allow for the monitoring of progress for the institution. So the institution can set its targets and then see the extent to which capacity is being strengthened. So I'm going to hand back to Emily now. Thanks.
Thank you, Nicola. I think from the I agree with you. From the participants on this conference today, it's evident that SBC professionals coming from a diverse training and educational background have many different roles in the SBC system. Even yesterday, a presenter at the pre-summit event spoke to the work that University Wits and FHI have done under Sea Change, Malawi HC4L, and other projects to really support the professionalization and professionalization of SBC for the diverse group of SBC professionals we have here today. And I'm really excited for me, and I hope others, to explore how the SBC blueprint can continue to build on this work and really move this field forward. To dive a little deeper into what a systematic SBC capacity strengthening initiative can look like within the government sector, Amelia Newson is going to share with us how USAID Ghana's Accelerating Social and Behavior Change activity is supporting the systematic capacity strengthening within the Health Promotion Department. Amelia, over to you.
Thank you, Emily. And since it's such a mouthful for a lot of people, I'll be calling the Accelerating Social and Behavior Change Program ASBC for short, for now. So in Ghana, in the implementation of this project, we have been working with the Ghana Health Service Health Promotion Division. And one of our key results areas is to support the systematic approach to capacity strengthening for SBC and health professionals. We've been doing this in 3 ways. I'd like to spotlight 3. There's a lot more, but I'll be talking briefly about one of which is the training programs that we've been organizing. Now, the 2 of them, which is the Change Agents Development Program and Set for Change, are cornerstone training initiatives that are designed to empower HPD staff. For now, it is a 1-week-long residential program where they're given capacity building on everything from social and behavior change programming, including SBC in initiatives, communications, and a host of other topical areas. And the curriculum is thorough and well thought out, and it's co-created with the Health Promotion Division so that they understand the need to include SBC in their programming and how to actually go about it. Now we are working to digitalize these training programs so that they are available to even more health promotion officers within the Ghana Health Service. And this is one way that we are able to also sustain SBC system strengthening within the Health Promotion Division. I'll also like to highlight another level of what we're doing, which is also to support the sustainability efforts. The health promotion officers that excel during the training move on through further training to become trainer of trainers and master trainers. And so they then in turn become SBC champions that within their districts, within their regions, organize trainings, take opportunities within team meetings, and when they go out, even into the field, to champion SBC and to encourage others to include it into the programming, and also to give them practical tools and steps that they can use to embed SBC within all of the health practices that they do. And then finally, for those who go even further and excel even more, the Health Promotion Division incentivizes them through what we call the Change Challenge Fund. And this comes both in financial support and recognition, and they are giving the support that they need to implement SBC initiatives within their communities. And we have seen health promotion officers implement programs with adolescent corners, go out into the communities to launch health campaigns, to do community debates. And we're seeing remarkable results in improving overall health and what we call good life. That's the overall overarching campaign that the Ghana Health Service champions. And so these are some of the ways that the SBC Blueprint serves as a comprehensive roadmap that outlines the various actors involved in sustaining SBC and also provides practical tools and strategies for engaging them. So that's a little example from Ghana that I'm excited to share. Thank you. Over to you, Emily.
Thank you, Amelia, for sharing some really exciting work that your activity is doing with Ghana's Health Promotion Department. I know from speaking with you and working with the team that it's really focusing heavily on sustainability and transitioning from HPD co-implementing with the activity to them leading the capacity strengthening initiatives on their own. We did initially have a little time for questions, but I want to make sure that we have sufficient time for the next set of panelist speakers. So please type your questions in the on Zoom, and we will answer as many as we can, but we will have time at the end for overall questions. So hopefully we will get to them. Next slide, Rose. So we have heard a lot about what the SBC Blueprint is and our hopes for it. Now let's shift the focus a little bit to think about how we can use the SBC Blueprint in our work. It's our hope that governments, SBC practitioners, and donors will use it to guide country-level efforts to strengthen their own SBC system. And as mentioned earlier, we have a set of tools to support users to go through the 5-step process to imagine, design, validate, implement, monitor, and a country-level SBC Blueprint, which will, next slide, please. So to operationalize, as you'll see, we have a 5-step process that we previously mentioned, but to operationalize this, we've created an initial suite of tools for an SBC Blueprint development. Each tool helps build a country's SBC Blueprint which is a plan to sustain its own SBC system. This plan includes a vision, a map of the SBC system, an assessment of what we want the system to achieve, and an implementation and monitoring plan. The 5-step process focuses on putting the system strengthening plan into action and adapting as needed. Step 5 focuses on putting the system strengthening plan into action and adapting as needed to make sure we're on track. We aim to keep adding new tools to the SBC blueprint over time, but this is the initial suite of tools that we think will be needed. Next slide. I would now like to ask Ms. Ladi Bako-Ayegbusi to speak to how the SBC blueprint supports Nigeria's priorities and needs, and if she has some thoughts on how to operationalize it in Nigeria. As before, as Ms. Bako-Ayegbusi is sharing her thoughts, please consider the Mentimeter poll question. How would you start the SBC blueprint in your country? Ms. Bako-Ayegbusi, over to you.
Thank you, Emily. From Nigeria, good afternoon, everyone. Social and behavior change interventions have been used to address key priorities and needs in line with Nigerian development goals and policy framework, such as the National Strategic Health Development Plan, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, the Sustainable Development Goals. In 2006, there was a paradigm shift from health education to health promotion with the development and the launch of the National Health Promotion Policy. And thereafter, health promotion was institutionalized at the national and also at the subnational level. The institutionalization and the existence of health promotion officers at the national and subnational level created an avenue to design and implement social and behavior change intervention to address key priorities and needs in Nigeria. Specifically, in Nigeria, the SBC initiatives align with priority areas such as health, education, gender equality, economic development, security, to mention but a few. Looking at the impact of SBC initiative in improving health in Nigeria, while responding to epidemics or outbreaks, such as when we had the Ebola or the COVID, SBC campaigns were vital for promoting preventive measures, for promoting vaccine uptake, and also to ensure adherence to public health guidelines. In Nigeria, there is high rate of maternal and child mortality. SBC campaign is being used to improve health by promoting practices such as the antenatal care, immunization, breastfeeding, uptake of family planning services, self-care practices, which are also very crucial to improving health outcomes. Likewise, SBC initiative focus on prevention of communicable and non-communicable diseases through awareness campaign and the promotion of the use of bed nets to prevent malaria, safe sexual practices to prevent HIV, and the adherence to medication when on treatment, such as tuberculosis. Now, looking at education, the SBC initiative is being used by the Nigerian government to prioritize increasing school enrollment and reducing dropout rates, especially among girls. The strategies that are being used, the SBC that are being used, it encourages community to value education and support children, particularly girls, in staying in school. SBC is also being used to promote positive behavior among teachers, parents, and students, thereby enhancing learning environments and outcomes. Likewise, in the Nigerian government prioritizes gender equality and women empowerment, and SBC program is used to change societal norms and behaviors that perpetuate gender-based violence and discrimination. Likewise, SBC initiatives encourage equitable access to resources and opportunities for women and girls. We also use SBC to foster environments where girls can thrive and contribute to economic and social development. Another priority area for Nigeria is economic development, where SBC initiative is used to support skill development and entrepreneurial behaviors that drive economic growth, particularly in underserved communities. And SBC initiatives, it's also being used to promote responsible financial behaviors among Nigerians through promoting better economic stability and growth. SBC initiative is also used to promote practices that help communities to adapt to climate change, such as sustainable agriculture and resource management. And the SBC initiatives are used to foster community cohesion and conflict resolution through dialogue and understanding, particularly in areas affected by ethnic and religious tensions. Initiative that we also use SBC initiative in Nigeria to address underlying social, economic, and political grievances. So by addressing these prioritized areas, SBC initiative is being used to ensure that behavior change interventions are relevant and effective in meeting the country's specific needs and priorities. Thank you, Emily, and over.
Thank you, Ms. Bako Ayegbusi. It was great to hear how the Nigeria Health Promotion Department is really taking a systems lens to ensure that SBC initiatives at the national and subnational levels are aligned with the priorities in health and other sectors. So I think that speaks very well to the SBC Blueprint. And we hope that the SBC Blueprint can further strengthen HPD's efforts in this. I would like to hand it over to our last panelist, Dr. Kabanda. Could you please share your own thoughts around the same questions, but from the Uganda perspective? Over to you, Dr. Kabanda.
Thank you. Good evening and good morning to everyone. I think most of the technical aspects have been articulated. And from the Ugandan perspective, I think what is critical and what the SBC Blueprint brings on the table is how best can governments or countries be able to transition from theory to practice. Many documents usually are written in a more academic manner, and I think this gives us an opportunity to be able to look at some of the practical insights. And that also will really enable us as a country to be able to pick some of the practical insights and how best we can be able to guide local governments and other actors at a lower level through development of guidelines that can be used. So literally, the blueprint will serve as a guide as we update our SBC guidelines, more so within the area of community engagement. So I think as a first point, that is something that is very, very critical. There are other 3-4 critical areas of concern, which I think that I should be able to share with you as a country. When you look at the details of the SBC Blueprint, it gives us insights on how best we can do SBC programming in a country, highlighting 3 critical components within the programming component. One is the multi-sectoral component beyond medicalization, because many times ministries of health tend to take lead, forgetting the many more other actors. And I think sometimes governments, particularly our government in Uganda, we tend to look more at other non-government actors at a time when there are projects that are running. And we tend to forget working closely with other actors who may be well schooled within the area of SBC, with experience and practical insights on how we may need to do SBC programming in a country. The other component that has been well articulated, which I think that will also be so much prioritized, is the component of community-led programming, which is very, very critical. Usually at national level, we tend to think that we know each and everything, forgetting that at community level, there is a way how people need SBC to be structured. I think that is something that would also be much more put forward. The other critical component which we should also be able to speak about is the component of sustainability. Most of the SBC programming and implementation in many countries, of course, speaking about the Ugandan context, is 70% or even more is financed with partner support. And I think the component of sustainability here is very critical, us in government being able to realize that fronting the disease prevention aspects across on board requires government to make investments, starting with humble beginnings. So I think that is something that we also need to think through. But this also cuts across to many countries that SBC is not really well funded by governments. So the discussions on sustainability require governments to put resources, but of course also to invest in human resource to ensure that there are enough positions for managers and those who are involved into implementation. And I think borrowing a leaf from the SBC blueprint, that is something that we are going to advance. The other critical component is in line with the capacity building. Building the capacity of our human resources is very, very critical. And I think this will also serve as a guide in trying to identify what are the critical practical components as a country may need to prioritize as we build the capacity of our practitioners. And lastly, is the component of monitoring and evaluation. We know that for quite a long time, evaluating the impact of social and behavior change has been challenging. And I think the blueprint gives us insights on what areas to look out for as we engage, work with partners, work with local governments, work with the private sector to be able to put forward critical components that require monitoring and evaluation to enable other actors within the health sector and other sectors, whether it's agriculture, water and environment, to be able to appreciate the relevance of investments in this area, but of course also how best you can be able to demonstrate that SBC really works. Over.
Thank you, Dr. Kabanda. It was great to hear about your critical considerations for Uganda. And as you also mentioned, I think a lot of the components you mentioned, being multi-sectoral, community-led, resourcing for SBC, and especially monitoring evaluation speaks to many of us on this panel today. So we had hoped there'd be some more time for questions, but we are running a little bit long. So please put questions in the chat. We will answer as many as we can, and we will provide some context at the end of this presentation for how you can continue to reach out with us. And we have a special request. For those who are at the Summit watch parties, I see there are quite a few in the chat. It would be great if you could take some time to discuss among yourselves how you think as a group, perhaps through the ASSBC country chapters, you might want to take on the SBC blueprint. What would your first steps be? What would it look like? What would it require? Just start a conversation around it for those who haven't already. I do want to, before I close out the panel discussion about what's next, ask any of the panelists, are there any last minute thoughts, any last minute things they want to share with the group before we move to close, to conclude this discussion?
Emily, just maybe
Yes.
If you could talk, and maybe this is part of the closing, but if you could talk a little bit about the tools and sort of what the vision is for the future, because I think this is a start at this point. We've set out a vision collectively and a framework to try to strengthen our approaches to capacity and system strengthening in our field, but we don't have all the answers quite yet. And some of the tools are just a start, and we hope to continue to evolve them over time. So I think you're going to speak about that a little bit, hopefully, as we close.
That's a nice lead into what is next. As we've talked, as Karen mentioned, that this is not the end of the SBC blueprint, and also from hearing from me and others on this panel, we don't want this to be a document that's disseminated and forgotten. Instead, it is our greatest hope and wish that it will be used, adapted, and taken on by others. So our next steps are really about operationalizing the SBC blueprint through the tools. So in August, we are planning a series of online sessions that will focus on this. We will explore what is needed to prepare and engage for stakeholders for the SBC blueprint, which I saw in the Mentimeter, a lot of needs around this, about how to understand the blueprint, how to share it with others, how to really get champions for this blueprint, just kind of the pre-engagement in the background stuff that needs to happen. And also we want to do a deeper dive into the initial suite of tools. As Kara mentioned, this is just the first set. We hope and wish that we have more planned, but just really taking a look at what we have, just asking questions and seeing how they can be adapted for the context and for anyone that is interested. And also, as we mentioned, we want everyone here and other SBC practitioners to use the blueprint and continue to engage with us. If you want to implement, test, or use the SBC blueprint, let us know. If you want to share tools with us, additional tools with us, or support the development of more, just let us know. And if you want to be involved in any way in advancing the blueprint, as you can guess, just please let us know. Engaging with the SBC community over the past year and a half has greatly impacted and shaped the SBC blueprint, and we really want this continue because we truly believe this has been invaluable and has only made it the product it is today. The last question on the Mentimeter is, if you haven't shared with us already, please share with us your contact information if you want to continue being engaged. Next slide. Lastly, several of you asked where you can find the SBC blueprint and the tools. Here they are on this slide. Rose will drop them in the chat too. But in addition, please email me or anyone out or SBC at FHI 360 with any questions you may have. I want to thank all the panelists today. It was an honor to be part of this panel and hearing the amazing perspectives, experiences, and hopes for the SBC blueprint. I hope everyone on this summit or this conference feels the same way I do, and we are grateful that you have chosen to spend time with us so that we could share this blueprint with you. Thank you, everyone, and back to ASSBC for the next session. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup à tous les panélistes. Merci aussi à Émilie Bloch d'avoir mené de main de maître cette session qui nous a permis de voir comment dans les différents pays, les fondamentaux du CSC sont mis en œuvre. Nous allons passer à la session suivante avec l'intervention de Massimiliano Sani et de Dina Aika de UNICEF qui vont nous entretenir en 15 minutes. À vous. Over to you, Massimiliano.
Merci, Benjamin. Thank you so much, and good evening, good afternoon, good morning, colleagues. I'm projecting my screen. I hope you can see it well. My name is Massimiliano Sani, and I'm actually a senior advisor in the for SBC in UNICEF HQ, but actually I'm outposted here in Nairobi, so greetings from Africa. And it's really a true pleasure for me to be with you today. I've actually started my professional career in SBC in Africa, in Angola, many years ago. I think it was 16 years ago, and then moved to Mozambique, and then to the regional office for Eastern and Southern Africa, based here in Nairobi for UNICEF. And then I actually transitioned to HQ a year ago. But I continue physically actually positioned here. So it's really a pleasure, a privilege, and I would like to congratulate the organizers for all this beautiful summit so far. Of course, we have heard since yesterday the importance of SBC. We won't go into the details of that, and also the importance of going beyond the individual, focusing on individuals and try to, we know already that telling to people that they need to adopt specific healthy behaviors is not necessarily working, and we actually need to change the context or try to address the challenges that they face in their daily lives. At the same time, because it has been covered, the approaches for SBC have been covered very extensively, we thought that in this kind of closing remarks or this opportunity that has been given to UNICEF, we wanted to reflect on the process of actually institutionalizing SBC internally, since we also transitioned from communication for development to SBC in 2022. And so we will try to give us our reflection on how we managed to institutionalize SBC internally and externally as mandated by the United Nations to work for children and with governments in across the world. we are actually trying to support our government counterparts to basically institutionalize SBC. And I think the session that preceded us is a clear example of this. So we will be trying to complement the colleagues from FHI 360 and all the panelists that came before us. After that, after some reflection on institutionalization of SBC also externally, I will actually give the floor to my colleague Dina Ekal, SBC specialist from UNICEF Egypt, who will be then zooming into an example, a concrete example of institutionalization of SBC on a non-traditional, I would say, area or sector, so non-health specific, and she will talk about adolescent girls' empowerment in Egypt. I wanted to start basically my quick session by mentioning that when we transition to SBC, or before doing that, we actually look at the previous strategic plans of UNICEF, 2018-2021, and also the new one that was being developed at the time for 2022-2025. And we actually look at all the results that UNICEF is trying to achieve or is trying to support the governments across the world to achieve results for children across health, education, protection, water and sanitation, and so on. And as you can see in the slide, all these type of results are actually behavioral, they have a behavioral component. So we always try to advocate with our program colleagues, with the decision maker, with our representatives, that actually UNICEF is in the business of changing behaviors. They like it or not. And that's very important because it helps us to, again, put SBC at the cornerstone of our programs. When we developed the new strategic plan, 2022-2025, we then try to position SBC results very specifically, both under the specific goal areas or the sectoral type of results, survive and thrive, so health, nutrition, water and sanitation. Goal area 2, education, learning and basically acquiring skills, so promoting learning results for children. Goal area 3, under protection. Goal area 4, under water and sanitation, and goal area 5, under social policy and social protection. At the same time, SBC has been also positioned as a change strategy to basically help us achieving all these results that are, again, behavioral in nature, or those that are behavioral in nature. So that's why you can see on the left side of the screen that SBC and community engagement is a key change strategy in UNICEF in this current strategic plan, and we hope actually to sustain that in the next one as well. So we are both, let's say, a mean to achieve results, and also we are contributing to actual results for children themselves. Another way to institutionalize SBC internally was to develop an offer that could identify distinct SBC elements or approaches within the program cycle. From the evidence and analysis kind of component, any program, they need to identify basically through social analysis, behavioral analysis, why people do what they do, what are their challenges before, and not basically program based on assumption. So this is the type of niche support that we can provide programs to then enhance the quality of their basically intervention, to ensure that they are basically relevant for the people we serve. Also, based on the drivers that we identify that are more relevant, for example, self-efficacy to negotiate condom use between boys and girls, or between peers, for example, or whichever other result that might have a behavioral component, then we can then identify the specific social and behavioral results at the planning stage, and then use participatory approaches, human-centered design to then co-design the intervention within our communities, with the people we serve, with frontline workers. And again, avoid the assumption of us as practitioner between, the sitting in the ministry or sitting in the development agencies or in the NGOs or in the private sector to plan on behalf of our communities. Also, of course, we are also considering community-led solution and community dialogues as cornerstone approach or key approaches to change norms. So during implementation, that's one of the key elements of SBC still in our package, in our offer for programs. And then, we are actually trying to increase more and more approaches that are based on behavioral science, on behavioral insights, on system strengthening for SBC to ensure the sustainability of our approaches. More and more, because again, we are also we moved from C4D to SBC, we have wanted to also to enhance, let's say, the power of behavioral science, do more experimentation and testing, and then try to close the feedback loop by ensuring that we are receiving feedback from our communities, and we give them, and we try to improve the way the services that we deliver together with our governments. So that's in a nutshell, our kind of position of SBC internally in UNICEF, but also to ensure that the programs take it and then go externally to our government counterparts to work on this. Very quickly also, I mean, in terms of reflection on key results and achievement on this type of process of institutionalization internally, we have seen that for the first time, the number of SBC staff in UNICEF past 500 staff. So we are actually currently 525 SBC staff. It looks a lot, but in reality, if we compare to the overall number of staff that UNICEF have across the globe, which is around 17,000, this is still basically around the 5% of our workforce. So we have still basically quite a lot to do to enhance, perhaps our capacity to deliver, but also to ensure that actually SBC is delivered by non-SBC staff, by our program colleagues, which are the ones that somehow manage the resources and take the decision also in countries. The second number, 786, is actually the $1 million that we have spent last year in SBC. Again, it looks a very big number, but compared to the overall expenditure of UNICEF, this is also represent about the 6% of our expenditure, which is still not very significant to really achieve the results that we would like to achieve. So again, how we can leverage the funds that we are particularly spending on system strengthening with more SBC kind of support to ensure that our results are more sustainable. Just a quick reflection also, we were very strong, or at least that was our assessment internally on the social side, on the social change part, on the community engagement component, or the SBCC approaches, but a bit less even internally prepared on delivering behavioral science, applied behavioral science for change. And since the new strategic plan, we also work on enhancing the capacity of UNICEF, creating new position on behavioral science. We have one in HQ now, some in regional offices, signing new agreements with partners from the private sector, from the academia, to deliver applied behavioral science in countries. So we have 15 agreements with different vendors that can support, again, the countries for that. And we have started also to accelerate the implementation of applied behavioral science and HCD in countries. We have now about 44 countries in 2023 that have done this specific intervention. Even internally, we are trying to apply behavioral science also for our own internal change processes. For example, on the culture and diversity team is trying to use behavioral science to understand microaggression in the workplace, so the type of internal environment in UNICEF, and promote an honest feedback culture. And also to try to reduce the basically administrative burdens, how we can use behavioral science to reduce the time that we spend on admin processes internally in UNICEF. So as you can see, this is quite a different approach that we have taken in the last few years that we hope is going to convince also more colleagues from programs and operation on use behavioral science. Also, very importantly, I put a link on ethical consideration for applied behavioral science that can be used by any partner, and to ensure that basically safeguarding is in place for our children. We still have some challenges before I hand it over to my colleague Dina. Basically, we still have a funding structure that depends a lot on health and humanitarian programming. You have seen also a lot of today that colleagues have been investing a lot on SBC for health, but we want to also expand and try to engage all the other sectors using SBC approaches. And that somehow requires also basically a different funding structure. We also are struggling with some managers, some leaders in UNICEF thinking that SBC is still a business of SBC colleagues and not their business, or not the business of SBC of program managers, and that's a problem. We are also having an ever-growing agenda because, again, we have to still respond to all the cholera outbreaks, Ebola outbreaks when they occur, public health emergency, immunization, but also working on climate, on multiple mental health, multiple new emerging priorities or clear priorities like the climate change, and that's with the same, let's say, human resources cadre. And finally, we're still, of course, working towards mainstreaming SBC ministries, and I think the previous session was a good example of that, to ensuring that basically we are working externally to embed SBC within the different pillar of the systems. From the policy side, the group in green here in this slide, from the service delivery and workforce, let's say, pillars of the system strengthening approach in blue, information system in yellow, and the ones that are more, let's say, considered demand side in orange. And we have actual examples of SBC offers for each of these pillars, and I won't necessarily go into the details because I prefer to leave to our colleague Dina to go into the details and provide an example from Egypt on how they have taken SBC and created an intervention that is sustainable and at scale. Finally, you will see in the next slide here, when you receive, there are specific resources for system strengthening, for ensuring that learning opportunities are available for any partner, like the SBC Agora Learning Channel. And also we have launched a new podcast series to again start to promote the culture of SBC and the type of approaches that we are promoting across the world. So I will stop here and hand over to Dina for the last few minutes of our intervention. Thank you. Dina, over to you.
Thank you very much, Massimiliano, and thank you for the segue into zooming in and honing into Egypt of the UNICEF work and really working with the government of Egypt in pushing forward kind of a non-traditional agenda for the SBC. However, an extremely important one when we're talking about gender norms and how they affect multiple vulnerabilities in Egypt. And just to take you through a journey, we started with this slide to show how an SBC-driven initiative is now institutionalized to the level of the highest political leadership in the Egyptian government, and an initiative was actually taken under the auspices of the First Lady of Egypt, which is the National Girls Empowerment Initiative, DAWI. DAWI in Arabic is actually an action verb, and it means to echo and reverberate. And let me just walk you through a journey on how from the design to basically where we are right now into nationalizing this took place. So initially, the way DAWI started basically was how to look at gender inequality from an SBC perspective and addressing the underlying and root causes of gender inequality. Also looking at this as an accelerator and a driver of change, because with multiple vulnerabilities faced by girls in Egypt, FGM, child marriage, that do have a normative perspective. So how do we address this at scale and at the same time something that can really push forward the agenda? And so the way DAWI was designed was on the agency piece, so looking at the behavioral perspective, as Massimiliano pointed out, analyzing really the drivers of these behaviors and designing tools with girls and the community members to ensure that we're answering really to their needs and wants and in engaging in the community, but kind of like the ripple effect. Digital engagement as well is so important and pivotal, as well as working with the community. It's important to have a digital component to it, given now digital divide is increasing by the day. The second one is the service piece. And here, the SBC, in creating the demand for these service, is also creating the pathways on how girls, parents, and community members can reach those essential services in a way that is easy to them and that can also answer to their needs. And it goes even beyond protection, well-being, learning, and a lot more, and linking to things that sometimes we overlook, like menstrual health and hygiene. The third pillar, which was the skills, and usually we hear girls empowerment and automatically we only think of skills, but skills is only one component, because even if we capacitate girls, unless we create an environment where girls feel protected, safe, supported, then only then we can break those structural barriers. And strengthen this means also that linking it to already existing program, already existing national initiatives, in order to get more and more support support by the government so that at the end, we reach this national ownership where it's owned and led by the government. UNICEF keeps on technically supporting. We engage private sector, CSOs, NGOs, academia, even media into the process. So really each has a role in DAWI. And last is the M&E, evidence generation, and multi-stakeholder coordination, which are pivotal. Having multi-stakeholder also means sustainability, continuity, and also complementarity, because we know that especially when it comes to gender norms, it's very difficult to only answer it from one component. It's not only about education and learning. There's so many other components when it comes to social protection, nutrition, health and well-being. And so having multi-level stakeholders also means continuity on this. And evidence generation, even though we may start process indicators and have impressive numbers going to scale, however, it's important to look forward at different output and outcome levels, level of acceptance, and different behavioral and social aspects. Next, please. And here just to look more at the ecosystem that DAWI was trying to create in the sense of how a social and behavioral change initiative co-designed with the community is also linked and materialized through national ownership, high political leadership commitment. And although it may sound tokenistic, but the idea really here of being under the auspices of the First Lady is a commitment not only to drive forward and ensure continuation, but also look for public finance opportunities, capacity building as well. Although UNICEF has all these technical expertise, it is also part of our duty and responsibility to share this forward with our partners and make sure that the package offered by DAWI, using nuances, vignettes, and alike, is also part of capacitating partners on this so that they continue on the work. The community engagement pivotal, but the community engagement also has to be linked through a human-centric methodology and packages that are easy, replicable, and scalable enough to be done at different levels. Modeling positive behavior, I've seen in the previous session, so pivotal and important to promote positive behavior to weaken the negative one. And of course, using of ICT, evidence generation, important to basically answer to our development partners and our partners as well. And multilateralism, as I pointed out before, even having other UN agencies part and complementing this, ministries, NGOs, and the like. Next, please.
Thank you, Dina. Maybe if you could zoom on what were the key results achieved so far, that would be fantastic. So we can
100%. So following the SUM model, just to give you an illustration of the different components and interventions of DAWI at different levels of the socio-ecological model, just to hone in on some of the results. So we actually have over 10,000 social workers trained on DAWI, including a capacity building now that was co-designed with our protection colleagues on identifying and referring girls that may be at risk. We're talking about over 1 million have actually been engaged on DAWI on ground and over 60 million online. Massive numbers. However, when we're looking at the numbers, we're also looking at the stories, the human aspect coming out of these numbers. And what does that mean? How does this translate? And how does this come about? The importance also of driving the engagement. So DAWI, with all these multiple stakeholders, has a strong steering committee really pushing forward this, where UNICEF facilitates the conversation, but the steering committee really is driving the results and looking forward-looking 5-10-year program into this, in coordination, of course, with our national counterparts like the National Council for Childhood and Motherhood and National Council for Women. With the auspices of the First Lady, it only came in 2022, but the actual program was co-designed in 2017 and launched in 2019. So yes, long-term investment, but it shows long-term investment also pays off. The SBC indicators as well. So how do we measure this on multiple levels? Integrating DEWI within positive parenting programs, employability programs, to look at different levels of indicators and really looking at the nuances and what different behavioral indicators that we can look to that we can measure the change. And just on some of these results is how, for instance, adolescents and youth that have been engaged have demonstrated improved acceptance of gender equality, a 46% increase, which is massive over the years. Of course, we are triangulating the results. We're looking for stories, humans looking more at different levels of how we're measuring this, but it's important and it's a good indicator to drive us through and to drive further investment through this. Next, please. And this is it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dina. Amazing experience and example of actually institutionalizing SBC in Egypt and achieving results at scale. So with this, I think we just want to share a message that this is possible and it can be accelerated, and this should not be results attributable only, let's say, to UNICEF or any one single organization. We need to work together as partners to achieve results for our children and our communities. Thank you so much, and back to the organizers.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Please do not leave. We have one more session and musical interlude from Joel Sebunjo. But before that, I want to thank you all for attending. I want to thank our facilitators, our speakers, and the panelists, and everyone at the different watch parties. Please answer the poll that is going to be on your screen. At the beginning of this summit, Professor Adebayo, who's the other co-chair, told us that SBC works, SBC delivers, and SBC transforms. I am Elizabeth Kemijisha, and I am the other co-chair of the Africa SBC Summit. And we are very excited that we have come to the close of day one. Tomorrow, I would like to just shine a light on what we will be having tomorrow and encourage all of us to join on time and enjoy the sessions that we have tomorrow. To start off, we shall have Kojo Loko, who will talk to us about how we can ensure that we are in charge of the SBC narrative as professionals. We will have two panels that will answer critical questions. Is AI a new best friend for SBC? And the other panel will also be answering, what is the next big thing for SBC? You do not want to miss the breakout sessions that we have tomorrow. And also we shall have other key panels that will be looking at catalyzing the private sector and centering communities to drive change and behavior change. We will also have a very interesting panel that will be by the Global Alliance for SBC and the African Society for SBC, where we shall be discussing what is the role of the global and regional alliances in strengthening the SBC practice. We will also have another musical interlude from Habib Koite, who is from Mali. And so I encourage you all to join us tomorrow and ensure that you join on time and enjoy the sessions. Please take this conversation to our socials. Let us engage on Twitter. Let us engage on LinkedIn. All the speakers are on LinkedIn. Most of them are on Twitter. So let us take the conversation there and let us engage. The hashtag is Africa SBC Summit 2024. And then let us all turn our screens. I want to now point us to the next video from Joel Sebunjo. Have a great evening, a great day, and a great morning from wherever you are. Thank you very much.
Hemi, just one quick thing. Do you want everyone to turn on their screens who's here and get a photo before we do or try that for tomorrow?
That the photo opportunity will be tomorrow.
Okay.
I actually wanted to point us all now to just refocus
on
and enjoy
video.
Joel's music video. Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
We are from Africa. Yeah. Africa, I love you daily. My home, I think about you every day. Africa, I love you daily. My home, I think about you every day. You're so beautiful, Mama Land. Fertile, glorious, sweet Africa. You're so beautiful, Mama Land. Fertile, glorious, sweet Africa. Flora and fauna is delicate, the oil and gold is tempting. Flora and fauna is delicate, the oil and gold is tempting. Rise up, Africa. Oh, I love you. Viva Africa. I love you. Rise up, Africa. Good. I love you. Viva Africa. I love you. Arusha, Tanzania, Kigali, Goma. Welcome to Africa. Standing up your pyramid, shining bright like a diamond. Standing up your pyramid, shining bright like a diamond. The Nile flows so deep. Oh, Mama Land, the flies low. The Nile flows so deep, the sun is always up. There is no place like Africa. Welcome to Africa. Rise up, Africa. Hey, I love you. Viva Africa. Whoa, I love you. Viva Africa. Whoa, I love you. Rise up, Africa. Whoa, I love you. Senegal, Dakar, Africa. Oh, I love you. Mama Komali, Africa. I love you. Kigali, Rwanda, Africa. I love you. Kinshasa, Congo, Africa. Oh, I love you. Good evening, everybody. Bonsoir tout le monde. My name is Joe Sabunjo from Kampala, Uganda. Depending where you are in the world, it could be morning, it could be an evening, it could be a night. Welcome to the African Summit for Social and Behavior Change tonight. We're glad to be here with my brother Habib Kwate from Mali. Enjoy the evening. We love you. And we stand with Africa. We stand in solidarity of everybody from Africa and globally. Africa is one. Thank you. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Aniche, wanu, Onjarama. Thank you, Africa. Have a good evening.